you're going to be recording. Thank you.
Let me
All right,
know when you're ready.
everybody, I'm recording this.
Okay, so again, this is Judge McKnight speaking. Thanks everyone for joining today. This is, well, I would say it's a little unusual, but this has become, I guess, the norm rather than the exception these days. Conducting meetings like this by Zoom. This is the first meeting of the Ashland County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council in some time. I would say probably in about 12 months, well, maybe 10 months. There was as some of you know, this was previously a fairly active body. Then Terry Schemenauer, who was the previous criminal justice coordinator, retired, and it took us some time to fill his position after he retired, and then we filled that position with Abby, and Abby started, this is at least my memory, Abby started right about the time that everything blew up with COVID. And so we've been in sort of paralysis mode ever since, and we're anxious to get going again. We've got a number of people appearing in the Zoom session. I'm really thankful that we have the number of people attending that we do. One of the things we need to do after calling the meeting to order, which I'm doing, is go through and just do introductions. So I think this is one of the things about Zoom. What's easiest is for me to just call people out. You can introduce yourself. So I'll start with me. I'm Kelly McKnight. I'm the circuit judge for Ashland County. Matt, do you have your phone on speaker?
I do.
Yeah, so speakerphone causes feedback, at least in my Zoom session. Do you want me to mute you, or can you take your phone off a speaker? Because what we get is like double talk.
What if it'd be easier if you just mute me?
I can do that.
Okay. So I'll mute you. Well, you've muted yourself. So anyway, as I was saying, I'm Kelly McKnight. I'm the circuit judge for Ashland County. I've been judge since August of 2018. Prior to that, I was district attorney for Ashland County from July of 2010 up to the time that I took the bench. And Ann Whiting, you're next on the list.
Hi, I'm Ann Whiting. I am the coordinator and project director of the Wellness and Recovery Court.
Chief Hagstrom.
I'm Bill Hagstrom. I'm the newly appointed chief for the police department in Ashland, and I've been, this is my 26th year.
Pat Kinney.
Pat Kinney, I'm on the Ashland County Board, and I'm interested in learning more about what this body does.
Clark.
Clark Schroeder, County Administrator for Ashland County.
Krista Grandy.
Krista Grandy, lead and senior legal advocate for New Day Advocacy Center.
Amy O'Donoghue.
Amy O'Donoghue, Ashland County Sheriff's Office, Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence Officer.
Shannon.
Hi, I'm Shannon Esla. I am the Recovery Services Program Coordinator at Memorial Medical Center Behavioral Health.
William Appleton.
Good afternoon, William Appleton. I'm the local attorney manager for the Public Defender's Office covering Ashland, Iron, and Bayfield counties.
Mackenzie.
I'm Mackenzie Schemenauer. I'm probation and parole agent with the Department of Corrections.
Ruth.
Hi, I am Ruth Kressel, Assistant District Attorney for Ashland County.
Reba.
I am Reba Rice. I'm the CEO of North Lakes Community Clinic.
Heidi.
Hi, I'm Heidi Ungrode. I work with UW Extension as a family educator.
David.
Dave Meany. I'm the district attorney for Ashland County.
Chris Grubasic.
I'm Deputy Chris Grubasic. I run the TAD program for the Ashland County. I took over this position in January of 2020. I've been here about a year.
Katie.
25 years.
Oh, sorry, Chris. Katie?
I'm Katie Colvey. I'm the Corrections Field Supervisor for Ashland, Bayfield, and Iron County. I supervise the probation and parole agents.
Laura?
I'm Laura Negro. I'm District 1 County Board Supervisor, Chair of Public Property and Law Enforcement, and I'm on finance too.
Crystal?
Crystal Nordby, New Day Advocacy Center, Boca Advocate.
Matt? Well, we'll see if Matt can get his phone unmuted and then maybe we'll come back to him. Tony Jones?
Tony Jones, Jail Administrator.
Liz?
Liz Franek, Ward 9, City Council and County Board Supervisor, District 9.
Billy?
Hi, I'm Billy Ryder. I'm an attorney practicing in Ashland. I have my own practice here. I'm also the president of the Ashland and Bayfield County Bar Association.
Which, Billy, if you didn't know it, is the reason that you got the invite out of the local bar. So, Abby?
Hi, I'm Abby Johnson. I'm the Criminal Justice Coordinator for Ashland County.
Terry? Birmingham, that is.
Hi, Terry Barningham, Director for Ashland County Health and Human Services.
Terry Wilbur?
Terry Wilbur does not have a microphone, but he is present.
Okay, thank you. Rhonda? Nothing from Rhonda. Mick?
Mick Brennan, Ashland County Sheriff.
Okay, thanks everyone. And I think that's everybody they have that I have on my dashboard. We weren't able to get Matt or Rhonda unmuted to talk. We've got a pretty short agenda today. Actually, I want to flip-flop a couple of the agenda items, and that's the CJCC overview and the county budget update. I think that the county budget update will make more sense in light of what I want to just give as a brief introduction for the CJCC introduction. This body has existed in one form or another, I would say since maybe 2013, which is when we, Ashland County, got our first treatment alternatives and diversions grant, and we've had continuous, the acronym for that is TAD. We've had continuous TAD funding ever since. One of the requirements for TAD grants is that a county have a criminal justice coordinating council. So when we first got our TAD grant, we created this body, and it existed continuously from 2013 until I think probably 2019, at which time, after I became judge, I was not really very satisfied with the way that the council was functioning. And so we just took a step back from having criminal justice coordinating council meetings until we could get the body functioning properly. And then while that was happening, Terry retired, and then there was obviously a delay until Abby was hired. The purpose of this body is to coordinate criminal justice responses in Ashland County. And previously, when this body existed, it served, I would say, more as an informative body. We'd come together every month. Everyone would talk about what we were doing, and that was really the extent of it. We didn't do much that I would characterize as doing actual work. And the real function of a criminal justice coordinating council is for the stakeholders who are part of the council to identify specific criminal justice problems and priorities for the county, and then to do work to achieve specific measurable outcomes. And so, you know, for example, there are a number of, well, quite a number of other counties in the state that have functioning criminal justice coordinating councils. And, you know, things that they do are look at the criminal justice system as a whole in the county, see what's working, see what's not working, and try to fix things that are working. The fixes that at least in my mind, we need to be looking at it as a county, need to be things that are measurable. You know, we need to be able to say, identify a problem. For example, you know, X percentage of low-risk offenders incarcerated in jail pretrial, and say that, you know, so we've got whatever percent of our pretrial jail population is low risk, and find a way through a pretrial monitoring system to reduce the number of low-risk people who are in custody, because A, it's taking up jail beds and costing the county money, and B, we know that by putting low-risk people in jail, we actually increase the risk level and achieve worse outcomes. And I'm just throwing that out as an example of the kind of goal that a county might look at and work on, that is measurable and that has both a positive financial impact on the county and a positive impact on public safety, as well as, in all likelihood, promotes a better outcome for the justice involved individual who is the target population. So in my mind, that's what we need to be doing as a criminal justice coordinating council. I mean, we need to sort of get a grasp on what's going on in our criminal justice system. We need to identify priorities, and then we need to plan and actually put things into action to achieve some of the prioritized goals that we've established. You know, we've got, as Clark's going to tell you, a pretty dire financial situation in Ashland County. And, you know, one of the things that we do in the criminal justice system is incarcerate people. And without a doubt, there are people who, you know, who do things that need to be incarcerated and who require what I would consider to be, you know, the most serious justice system intervention. But part of the goal of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, in my mind, needs to be doing a better job of using the resources that we have, with the recognition that jail is certainly the most expensive and not always the most effective intervention, and work on finding alternatives that save the county money, protect public safety, and achieve better outcomes for people who become involved in the criminal justice system. One of the hurdles that I see, and this is going to be a hurdle for all of us going forward, is data. Ashland County is a what I see as sort of a data desert. We have no data about what's going on in our system. If you ask me what our recidivism rate is, I have no idea. And if you ask me what percentage of our jail population is low risk, I have no idea. And what percentage of low risk offenders actually end up with jail outcomes, how many of those people come back to the system, other general questions about what our criminal justice system population looks like, I can't answer really any of them. And no one in our criminal justice system can answer those questions. And this is something that we've always struggled with. One of the things folks are going to talk about in a little while are programs that we have, treatment alternatives and diversions, and our wellness and recovery court. And these are both longstanding programs that we feel like are pretty successful. And in the data desert, if you ask me if they are successful, I can't tell you, because I don't know. I don't know if we actually have any better rates of recidivism out of our wellness and recovery court graduates than we do out of the general population. And so we've got a data problem, and it's a data problem that that we need to work on and solve. And it's a data problem. And the work that we do as a body here are things that are, I think, crucial to assisting the county in sort of digging itself out of the hole that it's been in for, well, as long as I've been working in this courthouse, and the hole that's been deepened by financial impacts from COVID-19. Just a couple other things I want to say. We do have bylaws. Those bylaws have been distributed. I think were distributed by Abby along with the agenda. And having looked at our bylaws need some work. So what I'm hopeful for is when we come back here in 2 months, some of us will have had an opportunity to look at those bylaws and have some proposed changes that we can bring back to the body, hopefully to approve. There are in the existing bylaws, voting members and non-voting members. And we've got a number of the voting members here. There are some notable absences from our voting members. The voting members actually include, for example, the Bad River Chief of Police, which is a person who hasn't existed in a number of years since the Sheriff's Department absorbed the Bad River Police Department. Just an example of one of the changes that needs to be made to the bylaws. I do want to say I'm really happy today. We've got our county administrator here. We've got actually 4 county board members on this call, which in my memory, we never had our county administrator at prior CJCC meetings. And you know, we've got 2 county board members who are actually assigned to this meeting, and we've got 2 other county board members who took it upon themselves to show up. We do actually have openings on in the voting population for 2 citizen members. I don't think there's any prohibition on there being county board members filling those additional citizen member slots if that's what they're interested in doing. But I'm really pleased. I'm pleased that the people who have the county's financial interest in their hands and hold the purse strings to the county are here willing to participate in this discussion. And so with that, I'm going to just turn it over to Clark to talk about where we stand from a financial perspective in the county, and if he has any thoughts on where we have opportunities to make headway with criminal justice reforms.
Okay, thank you, Judge. You can read that just now the paper came out with an article for Tuesday where there's going to be a referendum vote on the county board on Tuesday to raise revenue by $900,000 to basically stabilize the county. We literally are running out of cash. I had to move money around yesterday just to pay the bills, and it is a very serious issue. The county board has the procedure for this is the county board would vote on this on Tuesday. If they pass it, it goes before the citizens in April 6th. So if it does, I think it's important for this group and other groups to basically try to support this, because we will have to eliminate services and staff if we don't get this, because we're basically not going to have the cash. We've been running on a credit card lately. So I think one of the things when you talk about when McKnight talks about decreasing people in jail decreases money, and I'd like Mick to speak to this, is really the incremental cost of less people in jail doesn't change the county budget. The only thing that does change is we have incrementally less maybe healthcare if somebody has a healthcare risk, because we're responsible for that, but we don't get to decrease staffing levels at the jail by having less people. Mick, is that kind of a fair assessment? Or Tony, maybe you can speak to that?
Well, I could speak on it, Tony can too, but that's an accurate count. Whether we have 2 people in jail or we have 68 people in jail, our staffing would be the same. We might be able to get by with 1 less person with a lower number, but it's not going to change the staffing or the numbers on that. Tony can speak more about the cost for possibly for the kitchen and that type of thing. Medical bills would probably be down, but other than that, staffing's going to be the same.
Yeah, and I just want the group to kind of think about that, because there is kind of this assumption, hey, what are we spending on this person in jail? And we can spend that to help with diversionary supports. How do you keep that person from recidivism? How do you keep that person in the community? Well, there isn't any extra money that's freed up by doing that. That doesn't mean it's not a worthy cause, because everybody's life goes down the toilet when they go to jail, no offense. And I'm all for that, but it's not going to save us money. I think having the, looking at the future here for the budget, and I'll talk extensively this on YouTube on the meeting on Tuesday, but not having money for the county is going to be a cut to, no offense, Heidi, to extension, to Office on Aging, all these outside entities transportation, all of them are having to be eliminated or cut, and other services within the county. And it's going to be a very serious issue for the board to look at. So I would, if you have relationships with county board members, I would encourage you to talk to them about that we have reached the end of the line regarding the cash we have in the bank to spend and still provide services. So that's my summary.
Okay, thank you, Clark. And, it's, I think it's fair to bring up the point about saving a jail bed day doesn't necessarily save the money as it relates to that jail bed day. It's not just the jail bed day. It's, I think it's better decisions, hopefully better decisions being made at all of the decision-making points in the process, which ultimately, I think are financially beneficial to everyone, because if you make the right choice, for example, at the initial point of contact with law enforcement, if law enforcement on the street has alternatives other than arrest and taking someone to jail, there's a cost savings aspect to that, and there's also an allocation of resources aspect to that in terms of allowing law enforcement to, rather than having the sheriff's department, for example, transport someone from Glidden to jail on a disorderly conduct or a bail jumping, allow them to handle that a different way and free up their time to deal with more pressing issues. There's a financial aspect to it for the community because, when you arrest someone and put them in jail even for a few days, it may result in loss of employment. It may result in them being unable to pay their child support. It may result in them losing their home. The impacts are far and wide. And that's not to say, again, that there aren't folks who absolutely need to be arrested and brought to jail and need to be incarcerated as a result of the outcome of their case. But, one of the things I think we need to work on as a body is assisting law enforcement and finding alternatives so that they're able to use their resources as best as possible to protect the community and, not just sort of engage in wheel spinning. But with that said, I want to move on to the next agenda item, except I can't find my agenda because I have too many windows open. So I think that the next agenda item is brief summary of current programs. So Anne, do you want to take it with Wellness and Recovery Court?
Yeah, so I'm just going to give a brief overview of treatment court. We have changed our name and kind of our whole program. It is called Ashland Wellness and Recovery Court. And the mission of our program is to enhance public safety and decrease criminal behavior by providing justice-involved individuals with alcohol and other drug abuse treatment opportunities alongside intensive court supervision. And oh, I'm getting feedback. So this model optimizes the opportunity for sobriety for offenders while enhancing the well-being of the individual, family, community, and the community through a holistic and evidence-based approach. It's a coordinated effort by the judge, by the district attorney's office, the defense bar, our public defender participates, probation, law enforcement, mental health, health and human services, different treatment providers in our community. And what we're trying to do is to try and intervene and kind of break the cycle of drug and alcohol abuse and getting people down a new path. We are I don't know how much you really want me to say about it. It's a 4-phase program, and it really is, well, hold on. I guess just in order to qualify for this program, you have to have a high risk, high need person who will benefit from our programming. As the judge talked about, we don't want to be introducing low risk people into the community that we're working with. That will only bring them up to a higher risk level rather than bringing high risk down to that low level. So the 4-phase program, in that it's very intensive. We are working with drug testing regularly. It's frequent and random. And we have multiple ways in which we do that drug testing, whether it's urine, saliva, or sweat. And we bring all that information along with any of the agencies that we have participants working with. So we have, whether that's comprehensive community services in our community, whether that's if they're working with the CHIPS, with Child Protective Services. We get information from both mental health providers and with the AODA counselors, and we bring all that information every week to a team meeting where we have about 15 to 18 people sit down every week and talk about each person. We have our staffing, and we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And from there, we give recommendations to the judge. And I think the unique thing about treatment court is every agency gives up a little bit in participating. We all give up a little bit, but we gain a lot in hoping that this different method or different way of working with people makes change long term. We give the recommendation to the judge, and then the judge holds court. And the thing that was really neat, before we had the pandemic, we were sitting around a table, which is part of our new program design, sitting around a table and having conversations with participants. And it was just starting to take off when the pandemic hit. So now we're doing it on Zoom. And the judge has great conversation with people. He listens to what the recommendations of the team are, and then he discusses that with each participant, how things are going. And if they're not doing so great and there's some serious infraction, maybe criminal infraction, the judge deals with that with a sanction. If there's use or something like that, that's more of a therapeutic approach that we use. And if they're doing well and they're making progress, judge gives out incentives. And this past week we had 13 people in court, and I think 12 of them received incentives. So it was a great day in court this past week. That's just a real brief overview of what treatment court is. If anybody wants more material, I can send you the material so you can read through it and get all the details that you would like to have. Judge, you have anything else you would add to that?
No, not off the top of my head. Okay, is that it for you, Ann?
That's it for me.
Anybody, I know I've been doing a lot of the talking. Does anybody have any questions for Ann about Wellness and Recovery Court? And I see there are none. Chris, do you want to talk about TAD a little bit?
Sure. I'm Deputy Chris Rubicek. I run the TAD program since January.
Can you speak up just a touch, Chris?
Sure. I run the TAD program since January last year. We basically take nonviolent felony offenders. And they're more low risk than the WRC people because we put them through a program where they make sure they go through their AOD assessment, get to their meetings. We currently are in the process of renaming the program and revamping pretty much the whole program, with the hopes of it's going to benefit our clients better and be a lot more efficient and successful. We're currently in the last year of a 5-year grant cycle that was guaranteed for 5 years. Next year we'll be in a competitive phase, so there's no guarantee we'll get the grant next year. We have to compete with, I don't know how many other counties in the state. That's one of the reasons we're revamping it, because the state wasn't real happy with our current program, or how it was running in the past. Pretty much in a nutshell.
So just to sort of add on to what Chris has said about TAD, the current structure of TAD is to allow folks who are nonviolent felony offenders with a identified substance abuse need to avoid both jail and a felony conviction by complying with the requirements of the program. So there's a significant incentive for people to participate. With that said, we've struggled all along getting good numbers of people to participate in TAD. And in terms of this next competitive grant cycle, Chris and Abby and WRC staff, I know, in conjunction with the DA's office, have been putting a lot of time in working to revamp TAD and come up with a better program, a new program that would be something that the Department of Justice would find attractive and be willing to refund TAD. We've had TAD funding since what, 2012, I think, 2012, 2013. We're in our second cycle of TAD funding. It pays for Chris's position. There's money in the TAD grant for testing, for treatment, and it's an important piece of our diversion puzzle. And hopefully it's something that's going to be refunded. Anyone have any questions?
Also
yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, the new program, we're also going to include misdemeanor related drug offenses also. So.
Anyone have any questions about the diversion program?
Yes, Elizabeth Franick here. I just wondered, how can we, as a county board, how can we help maybe to get the state to fund this program? And how do you think that, what other improvements need to be made? Thank you.
Anyone?
Well,
Chris, Abby, Ann?
I think the changes we're making are going to be significant. What we can benefit from the county, I'm not sure as far as that goes.
Thank you.
And did you have something?
Well, I was going to say, we're just making big changes, and we hope that we're targeting the right areas that the state is looking for. And in doing that, I have high hopes that we'll get funded. So.
This is Pat Keenan. Just a question or comment. If there's a lack of data, perhaps the TAD program, when you apply for that again, might be an opportunity to consider ways to gather more data, and then how that grant, with whatever more data you can gather than you have, to leverage gathering additional data that the county would find useful in looking at what they're doing to help address budget issues, but also then to focus on the limited resources to use them in the ways that are most important in the work that you do. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thanks, Pat.
Yes.
Does Abby, Krista, do you know, is there in the TAD grant, is there the possibility of adding a data collection and analysis component? I know that other counties, bigger counties, for example, Eau Claire employs a full-time data analyst to keep track of what's going on in their criminal justice system. And I realize that's not something that's in the cards for us, but we've got a little bit different group of people at the table today than we have historically had for CJCC meetings. And, you know, we might have avenues through some of the people that are present today to, you know, to look into entering into partnerships with, whether it's Northland or UW Superior or someplace to not have to foot the bill entirely on data collection, but partner with someone to do data collection and analysis and be able to write a component of that into the TAD grant.
This is Laura Negro. I have previously made contact with Anne and talked with her about the program. I hopefully have put on hers, and I hope she shared that with Abby, the COSIP grants from the Department of Justice. There was actually funding for a position to do data collection that required partnering with a medical facility, because we were looking into MAT because like I said, I'm on the public property and law enforcement, and the programs that you guys have are on our radar. We have a few committees that are doing kind of same purposes, so you guys were on my radar to attend a meeting once you had one. The program is great. I sat in on a graduation ceremony and one of your whole proceeding days for drug court. And it is amazing the work that you do. And I'm going to keep digging for more grants, more programs. So I don't know if you guys just want information sent to certain people or whatever, but I'm willing to help or do whatever we need to do for this, because while I know my position on finance says I have to watch the dollars and cents, my elected position says that I need to try to help the people of our county have better lives. So those are the things that drive me. So I hope some of those COSIP grants, and there's a webinar coming up soon. And I know Anne, I had emailed her, but she was already on the list. And it tells what kind of grants are coming up for that and what things we can prepare for the year. So I hope that helps you guys with another stream of funding. And like I said, I'm willing to help or lend an ear or opinion for anything. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from folks before we move on to next steps?
Judge, this is Ruth Kressel. I just wanted to respond to one of the questions posed by Ms. Franek, and that was one of the ways that we are trying to improve the TAD program is that right now the way it is structured, it requires that the offense be a substance offense or a drug offense. And one of the proposals is to revamp that so it can be related to substance abuse, so that if there is someone who is drunk or high and they commit an offense, that would make them potentially eligible for this, even though they maybe haven't been arrested for, a drug possession offense per se. And that will hopefully bring in a greater group of people that will be afforded this opportunity for either a dismissal of felony charges or potentially dismissal or modification of misdemeanor charges.
Thank you, Ruth.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ruth. Okay, anyone else have any other comments on the things that we've talked about so far? Then I'd like to move on to next steps. Hopefully we can get out of here at least a few minutes early today. Maybe not, we'll see. Here's what I see in terms of next steps. We've got in your agenda, there is a meeting schedule through July. CJCC used to meet monthly. Right now we're set up to meet bi-monthly. And I think part of my thought process in that is the monthly meetings, when the body functioned differently, when it was just a reporting entity, just what are you doing? This is what we've been doing. This is what we're seeing. We ended up just coming back every month and everybody would sort of say the same thing. And then we'd go away and we'd come back the next month and do it over again. And what I'd like to see happen on this current bi-monthly schedule is that actual things that the body directs the coordinator to work on get worked on. And when we come back together, we can talk about the actual work that that we've all been doing to try to achieve some of the goals that we've set. And obviously we're not in a position to set goals. I don't know that we're even in a position to plan goals at this point. But in terms of next steps, here's what I'd like to see happen over the next couple months. When I'm going to ask Abby to circulate the bylaws to everyone. And if you've got time, take a look at the bylaws. We'll work on the bylaws. And when we come back for the next meeting, I'd like to be able to have some proposed changes and hopefully adopt a new or revised set of bylaws. If you have comments on the bylaws that are sent out, you can direct those comments back to Abby. If anyone's willing to work on the bylaws in sort of a let's get together and talk about this format, you can let Abby know and we'll get something set up. In addition, I'm going to have her circulate, in essence, well, I'm going to have her circulate some documents. And none of these are short or easy to read documents. Well, most of them aren't. But they're documents or publications about what a Criminal Justice Coordinating Council is supposed to do, development for a Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, and a framework for creating an evidence-based decision-making grounded criminal justice system. Those are things that at some point I would like the body to talk about as we plan what types of goals or change targets we'd like to set. And then I'm going to have her circulate a list that was developed at the state level of some change targets that are being utilized in other local jurisdictions in terms of things that other people are working on that they've identified in their criminal justice system as things that need to be fixed, measurable things that need to be fixed. And these things range from increased use of risk assessments to increased CIT training for law enforcement to reduction of low risk offenders incarcerated to, well, just they really run the gamut. So I'm going to have her circulate those. And then when we come back together in a couple months, the bylaws will be on the agenda. Just starting to plan for possible change targets, I think can be on the agenda. And the data aspect of this is something that I think we just need to keep talking about, keep thinking about, and keep working on. And so, between now and our next meeting, if anyone has any ideas, in addition to what we've talked about today for data collection, they can certainly bring those to Abby and we can talk about that. We'll also certainly have other agenda items that develop between now and then as things develop. That's what I see in terms of our next steps between now and the March CJCC meeting. This is, it's a difficult process to just sort of pick this CJCC up off the floor and try to start moving forward and try to start moving forward in a completely different fashion than the way the body functioned before. So I appreciate everyone's willingness to be at the table and your patience as we feel our way through what this is going to look like. The future CJC meetings are listed on the agenda: March 4, May 6, July 1. Certainly the March meeting will be by Zoom. I'm anticipating that the May and July meetings will be available by Zoom at some point. It would certainly be nice if we're able to convene as a body in a location somewhere, whether it's the county boardroom or the courtroom, so we can talk about these things in person. Hopefully that's going to be May or July. We'll see how things go. But March for sure will be remote. And then you can anticipate that it's going to be the first Thursday of the month going forward, first Thursday of every other month going forward. So that would be first Thursday of September, November, and then back into January again. Which gets us to other business. And I certainly don't have any other business that I want to talk about. I don't know if it makes sense to go through each individual Zoom tile and ask if anyone has anything. So I think I'm just going to open the floor. Does anyone else have any other business that they want to talk about with respect to the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council today?
Your Honor, I don't have a question about that, but on the agenda, it said July 1st, and then on your email, it was July 8th. So I'm just trying to clarify which date in July.
Thank you. Let me look. Abby, was there a thought that the July 1st date might not work because of the 4th holiday, or is there just you have any thoughts?
I just picked the first Thursday. I guess I didn't give it any thought.
Okay, so I'm looking at July 2021. July 1st is the Thursday before the 4th holiday. Does anyone want to express a preference on that?
July 8th would work better. Let's go July 8th.
Okay, and I'm fine with that. So let's use July 8 as the date for the July meeting. I tend to agree with Mick. I've got nothing on my calendar on July 1st currently. Anyone else have anything else they want to talk about in terms of new business today?
Yes, County Board, Ward or District 9, Elizabeth Franick. I've been approached by a couple board members that want us to help, decrease the traffic to the how would I say this? Decrease the arrests and go on a case-by-case basis on the use of marijuana as a recreational use in the community. For example, somebody gets pulled over and they have like a joint on them. Maybe we could have the officers use their discretion. They know which ones are the perpetrators that are going to commit other crimes. We have to think about alternatives to the incarceration. If this was a juvenile, it's their first offense, maybe scaring them a little bit and warning them, not to do this and, the dangers of it, everything. I've had officers talk to my daughter in the past, and, I wish they could have talked to her when she was younger, because it didn't work when she was a teenager. But I think if you could get to them when she was an older teenager, but if you can get to the kid when they're 15 through 18, and, the dangers of that becoming a habit and becoming, like they said that people get incarcerated for a bag of weed or whatever, or, I'm not a police person. I'm just going to have them use their time wisely out there. And I'm thinking about their safety too. They know which ones are the crime people that they have to go after. And if we could prevent anybody going through the system that, like you said, would be a low risk person that may use it recreational. I mean, it's against our laws and everything, but if we as a board could support anything that could be put as a resolution to the county that we are in support of having our officers use discretion on a case-by-case basis with the use of marijuana recreationally. I know that opens up another big ball of wax, and maybe it could help them focus on other crimes that are being committed, such as domestic violence, mass use, breaking and entering, stuff like that. I'm not sure what we can do. And then I just wanted to publicly congratulate our new Chief of Police, Officer Hagstrom. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. This
Can I
is
say something? No.
Sure, Chris, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that we're not working on it right now, but that is on our radar somewhere down the line, that it'll be basically officer level referring to a new program we want to start down the line. Keeps them completely out of the criminal justice system, but yet we still would be involved with them in a monitoring and getting them to a services, but keeping them out of the criminal justice system. And it goes with what Liz said, that a minor thing like that, they wouldn't be arrested, but they'd still be responsible for their actions.
The program that Chris is talking about is known as LEAD. It's Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, and there are jurisdictions all over the country that have LEAD programs in place that would be available to model off of. I mean, I think there are two discussions, and both discussions are proper discussions for the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council to have, and that is the creation of a law enforcement assisted diversion program for various offenses, and a greater discussion on and this is the dicey discussion, but a discussion on whether there needs to be some sort of unified, uniform law enforcement approach to small amounts of marijuana in the county. And that's a topic that plenty of other places have taken up, and there are various outcomes. If that is somewhere that the council decides that it wants to go, then it's somewhere that we should go. But when we start talking about change targets and goals, then we can certainly talk about that. But thanks, Liz. I appreciate the comments.
Hey, Judge.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I just wanted to point out too that currently, both within the police department and the sheriff's department, I would venture to say a vast majority of personal marijuana charges never do get criminally charged. If at all, they get a city ordinance citation or a county ordinance citation. So that is already happening.
I was going to add that myself, Your Honor. I was going to say that too. The sheriff's department's practice now is small amounts of marijuana is something that's either a warning for, or they're issued a county ordinance violation for that. I can't remember the last time anybody was taken into custody solely on possession of marijuana. They might have been taken in custody because of other crimes that being committed while they had the marijuana with them. But for a traffic stop, you find a little bit of weed in the car, it's a citation.
Yeah, thanks, Mick and Bill. And I got to say, I agree with those comments.
Thank you.
Okay, we're still on other business and just about out of time. Does anybody else have anything they would like to talk about in terms of other business today?
This is Laura Negro. I know sitting on public property and law enforcement, when we get the reports from Mick, sometimes the people that are still in jail and may not have a lot of alternatives are there because of a cash bond issue. Are there ways to do alternatives to cash bond, whether it's job training, volunteer things, hours, something like that?
So the answer is yes and no. you know, without to get into, I don't want to digress. This is like one of the things you could really get in the weeds on.
Yeah.
We don't have an effective preventative detention statute in the state. There essentially is no preventative detention statute in the state, and so what we're left with is cash bail. But one of my goals, this goes back to when I was DA. One of my goals for Ashland County has been a pretrial program, and the creation of a pretrial program that would allow for more people to be released on signature bonds with monitoring conditions and for them to be monitored. We tried to use TAD for that for a while, which is one of the reasons why the state got kind of angry at us. But if we had something in place that was an alternative to cash bail, I think it would be very workable. The problem comes with when you actually get to the preventative detention issue and you're left with nothing but cash as a solution because we don't have an alternative. So that's the short answer. That's something that I would be very personally, what I would be very happy to work on. So.
Great. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
But again, hopefully when we come back and start at least framing out or planning what potential work we want to do or change targets are, these are things that should go on the list. Anyone else have anything they want to talk about in terms of other business today? It appears not. We've got 1 minute left. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
This
We'll
is
just
Laura, I'll second.
Okay, motion from Mick, second from Laura. And anyone opposed? Again, thanks everyone. I'm actually really pleased with the turnout. It's my responsibility that the notice for today's hearing went out as late as it did. So I'm just really happy you're all here and looking forward to talking to you again over the course of the next couple months and at the next meeting, and hopefully moving forward in a productive fashion. Everybody have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.